A miracle cancer drug called Anktiva is trending, but the story behind it is absolutely not what you've heard. Their CEO says only the President of the USA can save his drug. Spoiler, that's not even the weirdest part of this story. And let me tell you that the truth about Anktiva will definitely piss somebody off, but you deserve the facts. Stay till the end because there is a lot to unpack here. Hello, and welcome to Elevating Cancer Treatment, where we explain the science and debunk myths to help you navigate your health journey. My background is a little different. Beyond educating about cancer, I'm actually designing new drugs that are defining the future of oncology. This direct hands-on experience offers me a very different perspective of how these cancer treatments work on the body, interact with the cancer cells, and cause side effects. And these are insights that I'm excited to share with you. If that sounds interesting, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. And please share it if you find it useful. I'm Dr. Jay Chaplin. An important reminder, I'm a PhD, not an MD. The information in this video is education, and it's not medical advice. Every cancer is unique, and no general information applies to everyone. Please remember that. Always consult with your healthcare provider for guidance on your specific situation. And two quick things. First, as a thank you for being here, I've created a free resource, 10 Things to Elevate Your Chemo Journey, which you can download from the link below. And second, by signing up, you'll also get updates on that innovative cancer treatment I'm working on. I'm confident it represents a significant advancement in immunotherapy. So please take a moment, download your free guide, and join us in shaping the future of cancer treatment. Let's dig into this. There's a promising new kind of immunotherapy drug on the market called Anktiva, and it's causing quite a stir, but not for the reasons you might think. Believe it or not, to understand the scope of the mess, we're going to take a detour through one of Communist China's biggest policy disasters. Buckle up. So, what Anktiva actually does. Anktiva's claim to fame is its ability to stimulate natural killer cells, or what we call NK cells for short. And scientists have known for years, for decades, that those can help with a variety of cancers. Actually, one of the very first immunotherapies, interleukin-2, which was approved for kidney cancer, was designed to stimulate NK cells. So that part is legit. NK cell stimulation, awesome. Very powerful, and it comes with its own set of scientific issues. We'll come to those toward the end of this episode, but right up front, we need to deal with the politics and marketing, because that's where things get totally sideways. So Anktiva is currently approved for exactly one type of cancer, bladder cancer. You'll find the press release linked down below. And in that approval, you can't just use it by itself. It's approved together in combination with BCG, or Bacillus calmette-guerin. It's a tuberculosis-like bacteria used to stimulate the immune system inside the bladder. You take these drugs, you put them into the bladder with a catheter, they stick to the surface of the tumor because it's kind of sticky, and the immune system attacks it. So the CEO of the company has claimed that the drug's limited access for the public is an FDA issue that only the president can fix. He wants Trump to step in and make this happen. Except that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, because the drug is already FDA approved. Let me repeat that, because apparently it needs repeating. Anktiva is already FDA approved. Don't believe me? Their own press release hypes the approval. It's linked down below. And we've put a link to the ex-FDA Associate Commissioner Peter Pitts stating the exact same thing. Again, linked down below. Calling this an FDA access problem is totally nonsensical. And here's why. It has zero evidence of efficacy in any other cancer besides bladder cancer. Anktiva has only shown efficacy in bladder cancer. It also has zero validated evidence it works alone without BCG, that tuberculosis-like bacteria. It has been approved separately as an immune stimulant to help correct post-chemotherapy immunosuppression. Yes, this is good. Press release is down below. But that has no connection to cancer treatment itself. It's just general immune support. The nice thing about that, though, is it does show that you can give Anktiva safely by infusion instead of just shoved into the bladder with a catheter. So that part is great. And yes, in the US, because of the way our system works, your doctor can prescribe Anktiva off-label for any cancer or really any indication you want. You can get an infusion of Anktiva for whatever you want. For lung cancer, for breast cancer, for migraine headaches, for depression, for erectile dysfunction, anything you can get a doc to sign off for, you can get an infusion of Anktiva for. There's no access restriction. But that doesn't mean that your insurance has any obligation to pay for it. This is the real issue. Why we're not talking about it, I don't understand. This is the real issue. And here's why insurance won't touch it for anything else. It's the cold, expensive truth. You're asking insurance companies to cover $35,000 per dose for something that has no clinical evidence yet supporting its use for any other cancer. It probably will. I'm very excited about Anktiva. It looks like a fantastic drug. But currently it has no data showing it works alone. There is some, but they shortcut the trial and they didn't use a control, so they can't submit that data. That's on them. 2 links down below. So Anktiva has only ever been shown to work when paired with BCG and in the bladder. Anything beyond that, it's a guess. And it's an extremely expensive guess. Again, there's no FDA issue here. Everyone in the US has access to it. The issue is purely the lack of evidence the insurers require to justify writing checks that could buy a car for the cost of each infusion. And how many infusions? It's a minimum of 6 doses and a recommendation of up to 36 doses. You'll see that in the FDA snapshot down below. That's a potential commitment of almost $1.3 million. $1,288,000 to be precise, per patient. And that's just for the drug itself and not counting infusion and hospital fees. So that really makes the recent spate of Chris Cuomo interviews with their obsessive focus on the FDA extremely bizarre. You can't blame an agency for blocking access to something that's already officially approved and available for everyone. And again, the FDA doesn't control or even really influence whether insurers actually cover for specific medications. There are plenty of FDA-approved medicines that are not on formulary. That's the lingo they use, and therefore not covered by insurance. I bet you yourself have already had to make choices in the past with those, where your doc has prescribed a medication, but insurance refused to cover it. Maybe they offered a generic form or a similar instead, something else that's in the same drug class, but not the one that your doctor prescribed. They just don't do it. That's their choice. And so this gets to the issue with Anktiva, the real issue. You gotta test it. You gotta test it. If the company, Immunity Bio, wants Anktiva used broadly for all cancers, they have to do what Merck did for Keytruda. Merck ran the trials, they got the data, they proved that it worked for other cancers, they proved that it was cost effective, so it was cheaper for the insurance companies to pay for it than to not pay for it. Merck did that. First thing, they developed a test, what we call a companion diagnostic, to be able to test tumor samples and tell whether Keytruda was likely to be of benefit, regardless of cancer, for that specific one, to prove the benefit to insurers. After that, they ran another 13 clinical trials. So the first one, that got it registered. Anyone could get it. But they ran another 13 clinical trials after that to expand access to other cancers, including an any cancer our companion diagnostic is positive for condition. That goes to everything. They spent billions, likely over $10 billion on those extra clinical trials. But once the insurers were convinced that that drug, Keytruda, would work for those particular diseases, the insurers paid for its use, and they paid in many different types of cancer. And because of that, Keytruda has generated over $140 billion of revenue from Merck as a result. Now, the CEO of ImmunityBio, the company that makes Anktiva, just doesn't want to do those trials. He says that they take too long and that an approval for any cancer should be an approval for every cancer. But again, the way the FDA works, it already is. That's called off-label use. So the real argument is that if insurance pays for a drug for any cancer, then it should pay for the same drug for any other cancer. That breast cancer is identical to prostate cancer, to bladder cancer, to lung cancer, and bone cancer. So let's stop and think about this. The argument boils down to something like this. Testosterone blockers work really well for most prostate cancer. So should insurers be forced to automatically pay for the exact same testosterone blocking drug for breast cancer or colon cancer? That's the claim that's being made here. It's not about the FDA, it's about insurance. And it's also really interesting to me that the same population base who complain they don't think that the COVID vaccine testing was rigorous enough now want to push through cancer treatments with no testing for efficacy. None. So ImmunityBio, to their credit, is doing some of the testing. Multiple clinical trials for new cancer types are already underway. The pipeline page for their site is linked down below. Those trials just take time, and most of them are still in phase 2 to figure out dosing. None of them have actually started the phase 3 efficacy trials yet. Now, the lung cancer ones, there's 2 of them, are marked active from October, but it's now mid-December and neither one is actually recruiting patients yet. The press releases are down below. So the other part of this is, strangely, for a drug that ImmunityBio is pushing as a standalone cure for cancer, better than chemo, you don't want to use chemo, use this instead. Virtually all of the trials are combinations with either other immunotherapies or standard of care chemo or their own cellular therapies. And those cellular therapies are notoriously expensive. Now, Anktiva is likely a very solid drug, maybe even an excellent one. And once they do open up those trials, particularly the lung cancer trials, I strongly suggest participating if you meet the criteria, particularly if you're within a couple of driving hours from El Segundo, where their site is. So again, the complaints about FDA withholding access make about as much sense as a submarine with screen doors, really. ImmunityBio is already doing the only thing that they need to do. It's really wacky. So now I'm going to do the side bit for Communist China because the story fits, at least in my mind. So quick history lesson about Mao Zedong's infamous Eliminate Sparrows effort. This was one of the 4 parts of the broader 4 Pests campaign. And here's how it went. Here was the logic behind it. Communist China, it had been about 10 years. They wanted to do great things for the country. And the goal was to maximize grain harvests so that they had the resources and the food to grow the population, to feed the populace. And the perceived problem was sparrows. Sparrows occasionally ate some grain. How much? Not a lot. The amount's debatable. Sparrows ate some grain. Birds eat grain. The solution, air quotes, solution, kill all the sparrows. There was a massive effort, people smashing nests, shooting birds, poisoning them. China nearly eradicated sparrows in 2 years. Huge area, no birds. Now, the unforeseen consequence for that, sparrows ate almost no grain, but they did eat a lot of bugs. They controlled locusts and other insects that eat the crops. Shocker, the locust population exploded. Crop yields didn't increase as intended, they actually dropped by 20%. And what happens when you take a populace that needs more food and you reduce the food? It's difficult to get an accurate number because records were poor during that time, and really, honestly, everyone wants to ignore it if they can. But somewhere between 15 million and 55 million people died in the resulting famine. Let's go back and take a look at this. Why? The root cause is it's because the government had the wrong cause for the problem. They put their effort into something that wasn't the actual cause. And it's really a perfect analogy here. I'm not saying that people are going to starve to death because of this Anktiva FDA story. And if you misdiagnose the cause, your solution can't help, and it can actually make everything much, much worse. Blaming the FDA is the kill the sparrows move for modern day. It solves nothing and causes other problems. It puts the anger and energy in the wrong place, and honestly, that anger and energy shouldn't be there anyway. The real issue isn't access. It's lack of evidence, which is a real shame because Anktiva has the potential to be a great addition to immunotherapies. And think about it. How much would it suck to push this out there, have your insurance company pay $1.3 million, and then have it not work? Especially since we have to acknowledge right now, we just don't know if it'll work. Would you pay $1.3 million out of pocket for something that hasn't even been tested yet? Okay, so I promised I would talk a bit about the science. I'm actually very excited about Anktiva. I wish there wasn't all this other stuff around it. I'm excited, and I'd like to tell you about how it works and how it compares to other immunotherapies that are already on the market. So the science is where things get way more interesting because, again, there's real promise here. There's serious promise for this drug, as well as, unfortunately, several issues. And none of this is being talked about currently. We're just in hype about accessibility, not about what this is. And this will get its own full episode later to break down the cellular basis of how immunotherapies work, including this one, and how to choose the best one for your situation. Now, the vast majority of immunotherapies on the market already target killer T cells or CD8 positive T cells. And those are cells that when they're activated, they're slow and complicated to get moving. These are the ones supported by immune checkpoint inhibitors. They have those checkpoints. They have breaks. They have lots of failure points. They're hard to get started because they require proteins in the cancer to be changed or mutated enough to appear foreign and be recognized by these rare and specific T cells. Each T cell is specific for a thing, a little snippet of protein. Now, if they are activated correctly, hard to get them there, but if they are activated correctly, they form cancer-specific memory that expands and becomes more powerful every time it is used, and it can last decades. That's why CAR T cells and immune checkpoint inhibitors like Keytruda sometimes produce total cures, what we would call durable remissions, through that T cell memory. Now, NK cells, the ones that Anktiva boosts, are the exact opposite. And that's good and bad. They're very easy to stimulate. They attack quickly, and they offer a completely different and very useful path for the immune system to kill cancer. What NK cells look for is not the presence of something foreign, but the absence of things that ought to be there. And cancers often turn those off. But, and this is the rest of the ball game, NK cells do not form memory. They cannot form memory. That's just not how they work. Not something that NK cells can do. So they're incapable of long-term surveillance. Yes, you take Anktiva and you get boost in NK numbers and activity, but as soon as you stop taking Anktiva, NK cell numbers and function return to their baseline. That means probably much easier to get tumor shrinkage, but you get no long-term recurrence protection, no lasting immune memory, and no defense against metastasis that was missed or returns later. Great for early activity, no late-stage activity. So, NK-based therapies are super valuable and offer a completely different immunotherapy approach in difficult cases. Just like with chemo, where you give multiple drugs to work in different ways to hit the cancer, this is a different way. It may work very well in combination with T-cell immunotherapies or other therapies, but NK cell approaches in themselves aren't comparable to T-cell therapies in durability. Function, yes. Durability, no. So Anktiva is super promising for the specific way it is currently approved. It is not being blocked by the FDA. There is zero truth to that. That is just a flat-out lie, and you can tell from the company's own press releases. Off-label access exists, but insurers won't pay without evidence. You can do whatever you want as long as you can pay $35,800 per dose out of pocket. That's the current situation. Blaming regulators instead of doing the trials is the modern version of this eradicate the sparrows mistake. Not useful for anybody. NK therapy is useful and fundamentally different from therapies that rely on T-cell memory. It has advantages and disadvantages and will probably make a great additional tool in our arsenal. So, taken all together, at the end of the day, this whole fiasco shows how fragile the understanding of complex problems really is, not just in medicine, but also in the way pharmaceuticals are developed and marketed. A pharmaceutical CEO cries censorship, a social media post goes viral, YouTube clip flying everywhere, and suddenly the sparrows are trending, as if we learned nothing from history. We learned nothing about focusing on the actual cause. And whenever someone tells you they're the only one who can save you, the president is the only one who can save you, that's your cue to ask even harder questions. So here's your reminder. Check the facts, question the motives, and don't let anyone sell you a miracle cure, medical or political, without proof. Stay informed. It's one of the most powerful things you can do. If we want a future where breakthroughs actually reach the people who need them, we have to stay grounded, we have to stay curious, and we have to stay allergic to convenient lies, because the world is just awash in convenient lies. So, why do you think the focus is still on the FDA when the issue is insurers and trials? And what does a CEO gain by claiming that he shouldn't have to prove that his drugs actually work in different specific cancers? Let us know in the comments. Beyond these videos, if you need more personalized guidance or a deeper dive into specific treatments to have your treatment be as effective as possible, I offer one-on-one sessions and medical advocacy. I'm also in the process of developing an exclusive video series that breaks down each cancer treatment and drug in detail, along with interferences to avoid and ways to optimize for the ideal results. You can find information on both of these resources on our website, which is linked down below. Again, if you found this video informative, please give it a thumbs up, click the notification bell, and subscribe to our channel for more science-based cancer insights.